Much like we all have to have a common language to speak with each other, we need common standards to speak through our data.
NWB stands for Neurodata Without Borders. It's a data standard for neurophysiology that aims to package all of the neurophysiology data with the metadata necessary for reanalysis.
It allows us to communicate our science, it allows us to share and reuse our data and ensure that we do science in the most responsible way.
Prior to the development of NWB, every neuroscientist would store their scientific data in a format that was custom to them.
Now I've been a part of it for about 3 years now, and from when I started to where I am now, it's grown a lot from a community standpoint.
In neuroscience, it's typically been very siloed. I am a grad student or a postdoc working in my lab. I focus on my research. I collect some data to answer a scientific question. I answer it. I publish a paper on it, and I'm done.
Before NWB, if you wanted to share data with someone else, you could share that data, but the metadata was often in an esoteric format that would maybe take weeks or even months of back and forth communication. Some essential data might even be missing that you don't realize. So it was really difficult to collaborate. Even internally in a lab, sometimes it was difficult for people to collaborate.
If you can have access to the data that they use to generate the figures of their paper or the results of their paper, it adds more trust in the community that these results are solid, and it allows other scientists to more easily reproduce their findings and build off of them.
NWB is for neurophysiology data. So this includes extracellular electrophysiology and intracellular electrophysiology, optical physiology, the behavior of the animals, stimuli, and all of the necessary metadata like the trial structure of that experiment. It allows us to easily share our data and collaborate with each other. The data that neurophysiologists collect is really expensive, and the money it takes to collect this data, the amount of time it takes for highly trained people, and we use animal lives, so it's really our responsibility to extract as much value as we can from this data. Every year we learn about new equipment that allows us to record from more neurons at the same time, which is really exciting because it allows us to answer more questions about how these neurons interact with each other. But it also raises challenges about how to manage this data, because that just means more and more data. So that means that these days, neurophysiologists are increasingly having to deal with data engineering challenges and software engineering challenges. And that's where the NWB team can help provide some best practices for storing really large data sets and transferring these data sets and reading and writing these data sets that can really help accelerate science.
The whole idea behind NWB is that it's not rigid.
One of the key features of NWB is that it is extensible.
Scientists are always pushing the boundaries, right? They're always developing new technologies and collecting new types of data, and those new types of data have different types of metadata that we don't currently handle. But the great thing about Neurodata Without Borders is it really expresses a grammar that you can use, and you can use this to build new data types and specify new rules for how you want to share data.
NWB is designed to evolve with the experiments that we conduct in our community, and so we have a common language that we speak, and then there's always additional pieces that we can invent to communicate new information that we didn't have before.
So the DANDI archive is an archive for neurophysiology data that's supported by the Brain Initiative. And it allows neurophysiologists to easily upload data, download data, search across existing data sets, and even allows them to compute in the cloud on existing neurophysiology data.
While NWB is the language through which we communicate, DANDI archive is the vehicle through which we transfer that information to the community. Engaging with existing tools as well as emerging tools is really a core goal of our efforts, and so there's a broad range of tools from acquisition system tools as well as analysis and visualization tools that we're engaging with.
We just introduced a new backend called ZAR, which is more optimized for cloud computing.
Kilosort for spike sorting, Suite2P for calcium imaging analysis. There are tools for pose estimation that can output data in NWB formats. We have at least 15, 20 tools that have some support for reading or writing NWB files.
As experiments evolve, a key role of NWB is really to engage with the community to make sure that all these new types of data that we're generating we can also utilize effectively. And so we are in many ways a mediator in the community to help people get together.
We're now seeing more and more labs being able to convert their data to NWB and publish it on DANDI. And we're starting to see that data be reused. And I think that's going to be the next big initiative for our team, is helping the community maximize the value of the data that's been converted and been published, and help them build analyses that can leverage this data to build new knowledge and new discoveries in neuroscience.
Scientists, students who might be at a lab or an institution that doesn't have the resources to collect a particular type of data that requires a $100,000 microscope or recording system, they can still access this data and analyze it to answer any questions that interest them.
How can we facilitate the different labs to work with each other? And I think that's really the journey that we're on now, where all the data is becoming shared, and now we can go and say, I generate this information, but now that I have access to the information from this other lab, I can really complete the picture and extract information that I wouldn't be able to do before.
A lot of the feedback we've gotten over the years is driving us towards ease of use and ease of interpretability.
So over the last decade, we have been working towards developing that common language to be able to share the data. But now that we're able to share the data, it's really about how do we use it best.
We recently converted a data set that was one of the data sets cited in a Nobel Prize, discovering grid cells, a data set from the Moser lab. And we worked with that team to convert this data to NWB and publish it on DANDI. And now any neuroscience student can access that data set and can walk in the footsteps of that lab as they were discovering this really pivotal discovery.